Good morning. Hello, and welcome to the Space Between. It's another beautiful Monday morning. I'm Michele Laine, self-mastery and neuro-transformation coach with a passion to help you transform every aspect of your life and business, wherever it is that you want to create the change. I have so much passion in helping you see what's possible, not only because there is unlimited amounts of possibility, but because I wasn't always in that place before. And I've been able to make the shifts I didn't know that I needed. I've been able to help others in those places of their lives make the shifts that they didn't know that they were looking for until they sat on the other side of that and were able to witness themselves from that place of empowerment. So welcome today. Let me know if you're here. I'm going to make sure I can see comments. I want to dive into the title of this episode today, and it is all about the ripple effect of decision. I am sitting here this morning surrounded by all these beautiful letters, and if you're joining me on the podcast, you cannot see this, but for those of you on live, I have got a series of letters that I received for Mother's Day from my daughter, and they're cute. They're like little postcard stamped letters that came in a binding. And so essentially I've got thoughts going through her mind in 6 or 7 of these. And I was just focusing on a couple of them. And I was like, can I read these and not cry? So we're going to find out. And we're just going to let things go because they matter to what I want to share with you today, in hopes that if this is the place that you're at, if you're ready for that next step, that this will help speak to you in terms of what's available in the shifts that you're looking for, in the change that you're wanting in your life. I want to start by saying, before I read this out, even a matter of 5-7 years ago, found myself running faster than I could keep up with. I found myself constantly looking for that next achievement, thinking I can outrun myself, thinking I could catch up to the list of to-do things, thinking I could work so hard and so fast that I could beat the clock ticking in my mind. I could beat that part of me that felt like I could just run faster and get closer to where I wanted to be. That I would be exactly in that peaceful place when all of the things were finished and all of the steps were done. And I never was able to run fast enough. And my body began to slow down even more. And it was really interesting because I really just wanted to make a higher contribution and find that place of peace in myself to be able to honor that space. And I think I was wound so deeply in it that I wasn't even seeing in that moment the effect that would have on my family, the effect it would have on my kids growing up. They were still very young. We've done a lot of growth these last 7 years together. And one morning I woke up thinking, there's got to be more than this. This can't be the end goal in life, chasing, making more money, running the race, teetering on the edge of burnout constantly, feeling so creative and disciplined and focused and so exhausted. At the same time, so tired. Doing all the right things, working super hard, getting the accolades or seeking the accolades of that my family saw how hard I was working, or that if I just worked hard enough, you'd get it, right? It was like this essence of these thought patterns that were running. Why aren't you appreciating how hard I'm working? The answer wasn't there at that moment, but it came later. In short, the answer was because I wasn't appreciating where I was and how hard I was working and what I was working so hard for, from. What was I avoiding in that sense of being, and what was the busyness keeping me from? And life has a way of bringing us exactly what we need at the moment we need it to be able to see ourselves differently if we choose. And one of those moments was for me stressing about my looks, my weight, all the things that filled my mind for decades, these achievements, and I didn't at the same time want my daughter spinning in these loops. I remember specifically making a decision. This will not be what they do. I will find a way to better myself, to work on me, to heal the things in me so that doesn't carry forth. And here I am 7 years later, looking back on that journey, going, oh, it's like, this is part of my purpose. This is why I'm here, to do this work, to help others understand that we can unwind what we've wound, to not live in an anxious state and frustration and irritation and anger, to not keep those emotions being the current vibration from which we operate. It's not about feeling like everything has to be positive and I have to be just this example of smiling all the time. And yet there's an essence of, but you can still love your life. You can still be happy. You can still be the things. And I'm reading this letter from my daughter, and she's telling me how I'm her biggest inspiration. There's something about my soul that draws her to me and helps her feel connected, even if we're miles apart. She says, I hope to be like you when I'm a mom of my own, because you acknowledge your mistakes. You apologize when you say something you didn't mean. And you use kindness with everything you do. You teach me how to love, and you're my biggest light in my life. And I think of the journey it took to be here for her to see that and witness that in me. And part of it has been me acknowledging that those spaces can exist in me. And here it is, the evidence, the ripple effect of that decision. And I don't feel perfect at it, far from it. And I want them to know they don't have to feel perfect at it. They have to decide how they want to be in this world, what they want, and how they want to feel while they're in that direction towards what they want the outcome to be, what that bigger dream is. Because the journey is so much more than the destination, right? And being on the edge of burnout and constantly thinking that things are harder than they ought to be, or feeling like life is hard, and then just telling yourself all the hardnesses, creates the patterns that we've been talking about, creates the mind loops, the emotional loops we get stuck in, creates the triggers that we're operating from. Every human being on this planet is a mirror to every other human being. And we can spend our life choosing to be angry at somebody, or irritated or frustrated for what they said or did or didn't do or didn't acknowledge, that they didn't see the way that you saw life, that they could be so into the judgment because you're not. And truly, there's some aspect in there mirroring back to you places of yourself where you see you. Yet it goes it goes by in a flash, and we don't always see those places in ourselves that we want to look at and go, and that's me too. Because if we don't see it, we don't have to shine a light on it. And if we never shine a light on it, then we can just hide it away in the shadows. And this work that I have become so passionate about, that I have dove into head, line, and sinker, I'm not even sure what that expression is because when I discovered it, it opened up my awarenesses and expanded what my thinking was, and the possibilities, and where I had been keeping myself stuck. And that side of freedom on the other side of it, like, it's so liberating. And for decades, over 40 years, I just kept winding myself, winding and winding and winding, in the tension and the stress and the achievement and being all the things and doing the to-do list, and then beating myself up for not meeting the to-do list, or not finishing everything on my desk every day. That one, judging my good enough based on how much I could do in a day, giving myself accolades only if and when I got the list done or left with a clear desk. What's funny about that is I worked in accounting and finance and paperwork and all the behind the scenes of building businesses. We did billions of dollars a year in business, and the paperwork doesn't end. And yet my mind wanted to believe that when the desk was zero, then I did my job. Then I was good enough. Yet the cycle never finished. So I never thought I was good enough. And I kept chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. Then I started looking at where that was playing in my life, in my food, in my weight. As a mom, where do we spin ourselves out and burn ourselves out in this exhaustion of trying to keep up with these expectations of others, of who we thought we had to become, of who we told ourselves we had to be? And then we make a mistake and we beat ourselves up and we loop ourselves in those patterns over and over again, and not knowing that we are a series of patterns. The mind has a series of perceptions and misperceptions and stories and things we make up meaning to, and we treat it as if it's the only way and there's no room for anything else. And we get so good about ruminating it over and over again that it automates, because the brain likes to be efficient. And it's going to be efficient based off what you tell it you're interested in, whether you're conscious about it or not. So what is on replay? What is rippling from the decisions you're making? Because here's the one that opened me up. And I don't mean to be insensitive in saying it, but indecision is still a decision, and it's rippling that automation out into your world. So if you're finding yourself constantly frustrated with the people in your life or the things that are happening to you in your life or your relationships, might there be a place where you're frustrated or irritated within your own self from what you're not providing yourself, from not making yourself matter first, from not filling your cup, from not nurturing and taking care of you? So that can be the effect that ripples out, because boy, oh boy, I was there. I was there. Everything and everybody irritated the blank out of me. Why couldn't they just see the things that I saw that did the things the way I did it, wash everything the way I washed it? The control was so intense, but I had wrapped myself up in it over and over and over again. Because as long as I felt like I could control my life, my participation in it, I could stay ahead. I could keep pushing for that achievement, right? Like the subconscious programming of achieve, 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 achieve. Perfect it. Do it this way. It's the only way. And really that just stirred up the judgment. I was so used to the judgment. It was like, bring it on. And so I read this letter from my daughter and I'm thinking to myself, wow, it's like the dots connect all the way back. Even through this journey of personal growth, spiritual growth, the judgment around who I've become and how I've seen myself. This last few months, these shifts have been opening up in the blessings that are truly here. And the only person it's a surprise to is myself, because everyone else is seeing it so much faster than me. And I have to giggle. That's part of the journey. It's like living your soul, living from a piece of your soul, not the roles that we thought we had to fill, not the lists we thought we had to complete, not the achievements we thought we had to become to be honored and accepted and loved, that we can truly do that in here first. And this is coming from somebody who really, really hoped that was possible one day, because the beating up part, the judgment part was so intense that it created the cycle of just achieve more, you'll feel better, right? I had to learn to say no to things I was saying yes to that didn't fill my cup, that weren't essential, that weren't making me feel better in my life. I learned to tune out distraction that seemed to want to fuel the cycle, the loops. And I learned to honor the commitments that I made to myself, because those were the places where it was so much easier to blame someone else or something else for those things not happening than it was for me to look at the places I just wasn't holding myself accountable through a place and lens of love, not through judgment. And so I'm grateful. I'm so full of gratitude, because to be who I wanted to be, I couldn't keep doing the things that I was doing. It was no longer working. I had to find something to shift it. And in a way, I had to hit that bottom space for me to be wanting to pick myself up and willing to do what it took for me to get to that next level. Always, always. I lived in, you had to be there and then racing to get there the whole way, instead of honoring the space every step in between that to get to where I was headed. The next level of success in my vitality, in my health, in my wealth, in my business, and just letting go to see what would happen when I showed up in these places. Would you resonate with what I'm talking about? Would I show up if you didn't? So that my heart could sing its song, so it could talk about the things that were so full of lessons in this life that I never thought possible. That you can retrain your mind and become aware of what you are thinking, so you can shift in how you'd rather feel instead. That the feeling state is where the manifestation comes from. We're constantly, we're major manifestors. Every single human being in this planet has the ability to manifest and is on a daily basis. What are you calling in more of? Where are your vibrational states the majority of the time? Are you calling in more frustration, more anger, more irritation because you're choosing to stay in the irritation, the frustration? Are you choosing to look for all the things that frustrate you in life, all the things that irritate you? Are you feeling into the possibility of bliss and love and all the things that reflect to you in life that you have that show you bliss and love? The smallest little things where you're already so abundant, so grateful, so full of blessings. And if you're in that moment now, if you're a coach, healer, teacher, high achiever, and you're looking for that fulfillment inside, if you're looking for that place within you, are you willing now to take the steps to do something you haven't done before, to get to the other side of where you want to go, to fully surrender out of the cycles of control and understand those parts of you just a little bit deeper, understand how your mind works, so you can understand the mirrors, the windows, the perceptions of the mind, the emotions, what you're feeling, and what's available to you on the other side of that. To dissect those places within yourself where you can make that change and have the tools to move forward no matter what you're facing in life. And then to lean more into your purpose from this place of knowing what your values are driving it, your why, and the inspired action that follows every step from that point on, from being your best observer instead of your biggest inner critic. The journey is simple, but it's not always easy. It requires guidance. It requires tools and commitment from yourself. It's going to require you saying no and tuning out distraction of the mind, understanding when your mind is in that loop, when your body is speaking to you through body sensations, through connecting the mind and the heart together so you can release and heal what's been keeping you stuck from where you want to go. This is the work that I do. This is what I can help you with the most. It's available to everybody. As I reflect on these Mother's Day letters, I'm so grateful for the journey, for finding these tools, for living, for being these tools, becoming the change that I wanted to see in my world first, so they could see it's possible. They're my why. So they don't have to wind themselves up for 40 years like I did. They can see their beauty now and expand upon what they want. See the extraordinary now. I couldn't see my extraordinary. It took a lot of work to get here, and a lot of patterning, repatterning, and a lot of depth that now I get so excited about, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it requires big shifts, little commitments, more habit changes. It requires me to tune out the distraction and sit with me, learn how that feels. And my invitation is, if this is resonating with you, if this is speaking to your soul, come take that journey with me. I teach a 10-week beautiful transformation journey in mastering the brain game. We take apart each aspect of this. These are the tools that got me here. These are the tools I come back to every single day, because we're never there. We're never done growing. We're never not going to be facing adversity in life. We're never without challenge and obstacle. But we can learn to navigate those things within us, those patterns that are those traits that most speak to our unique DNA, and learn to operate life through that, so we can find the possibility and potential just that much more. I invite you to reach out so you can learn more about that journey. It is truly life-shifting. It will truly have you look back months from now and be able to see those changes and shifts within you. And it won't even be something that you have to actually see. You'll feel it, but someone else will reflect back to you that ripple effect from the decision. That one decision to seek something different than what you've done before. And that's the moment you'll be able to look back and say, oh, you see me. And they see you because you see you. And it's a start of a beautiful relationship with self that nobody can take away from you. It's expansive. It's full of possibility and potential. And it's one you'll want to share with others as you begin to experience those somatic shifts in your body and how you can heal. Healing to creating the life that you desire most, creating a life by your design. And it begins with a decision. So thank you for joining me this week. I'd love, as always, to know how this resonates with you. Don't hesitate to reach out to learn more about mastering your brain game, mastering the brain game, empowering your purpose. Live a life you truly desire. Live a life you love every single day. And see how that shifts and ripples out into the world. Until next time, guys, thanks for joining in.